The Rat has made it through to the top 8, and unfortunately, Zalay's road has ended in the DreamHack Montreal Hearthstone Grand Prix. But we've got yet another top 16 match coming your way. It's going to be Walaoumpa taking on Impact. My name's Cora, and joining me on the desk for this set is going to be Noxious and Lorinda. Guys, that one was a nail-biter. Went to Game 5. I know we were all maybe not so secretly rooting for Zalay because him and Muzzy have been neck and neck throughout the entirety of this tournament and this year overall for HCT points. But now that Zalay's out, Muzzy's match will be coming up later. We'll have to see how that story ends. But first, it's going to be Walaoumpa, who we saw on stream several times, for better or for worse. He had one win and then one loss, versus Impact, who we actually have not seen up until this point, but he is a local Canadian Hearthstone player. Had some success a couple of years back, hasn't done too much recently, so this win for him could be a nice rebirth into the Hearthstone scene.
Yeah, I've been kind of looking at what he's been doing, and frankly, I feel like he's retired a little bit from the Hearthstone scene and attending every event. But the last time I saw him was in China, I believe, for Star Ladder last year, and he did fairly well over there. And then there was also another tournament earlier in the year that he also plays pretty well at. So a player that a lot of people remember the name of, but haven't seen much of in recent memory.
Well, we're going to get to see him again today. Lorinda, do you know much about either of these players?
Yeah, Impact I've seen quite a bit of around. Like China was the big one, but the qualifiers for that as well were an extended process, and he did well at every stage just to get there. A very lively character, I think we should say, around the scene. I think everyone who bumps into him remembers Impact one way or the other.
Yeah, he's had some very emotional moments on stream in the past. I believe maybe even in past DreamHacks, and I think he did compete at this most previous Seat Story Cup as well. So this one, Walaoumpa is certainly the fresh face when it comes to Hearthstone, but he has had more screen time than Impact over the course of this tournament. So we don't know what to expect from Impact, but now that decks are open, these guys are on level footing. No advantage for Impact with Walaoumpa having been on stream before. And we did see Walaoumpa up against Coach yesterday, and he did have a bit of a rough time. Now, Twisted did end up losing that match. Walaoumpa won, but it wasn't without some struggling along the way. Do you think that maybe he's put that behind him now, Noxious, and he's looking forward to the series?
Well, I feel like he can't be less rested than he was yesterday, right? Like the day has been a little bit shorter, so at this point in time, I think he must have had at least a little bit more energy. I have no doubt that the time yesterday took a little bit of a toll, but he still played rather solidly. You know, a lot of tiny missteps here and there. To err is human, you know, miss a ping here and there. But it happens to the best. Pavel does it occasionally in tournament play, and no one is giving him too much flack for that. So at the end of the day, I'm not too worried about his performance. I just want to see again how those special decks of his really perform.
Yeah.
And cutting back to Impact, talking about special decks, Impact does like himself as a deck builder. It's never usually crazy new stuff like that rogue deck that we're going to see, but he does like to put bits and pieces in his deck. And also he did make top 16 at DreamHack Atlanta earlier in the year, so this is 2 in a row for him. Again, maybe starting to get his name back out there again more often.
It's really impressive. Well, this should be an interesting one. Let's go ahead and take a look at our picks and bans and see what Impact has brought, because up until now, we haven't seen any of his deck choices. All right, so it is going to be the Druid ban. And of course, Walaoumpa has that double Prince Rogue deck, the only Rogue that I have seen on stream all weekend, as well as his Priest and his Shaman. And Impact has Paladin, Priest, and Warrior. So pretty standard lineup.
Yeah, the two decks that we see here, like the Paladin and the Warrior, are both extremely aggressive lists, which we've not, I wouldn't say we've not seen any Murloc Paladin, but we've seen very little of the hyper-aggressive Divine Favor list at the very least. So what he's bringing here are possibly 2 sweep decks. We're talking about the aggressive decks, as well as the Priest, so possibly the most sweeping lineup that we've seen so far.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few aggressive decks across the game with the Pirates and stuff. And well, the last time we saw this Impact deck played by somebody else earlier in the day, we were talking about it's a way you get to play kind of like Druid, aggro Druid.
Sure.
And you don't get it banned. It's a way of sneaking an aggro Druid into your lineup, like unnoticed.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, because Aggro Druid and Pirate Warrior are both aggro decks at heart, but they're played so very differently that this version of Murloc Paladin almost seems like it is closer to Aggro Druid. So we'll have to see if it works out. Walaoumpa versus Impact coming up right now.
All right, welcome everyone to the second match we've got at the top 16. It's going to be Walaoumpa versus Impact. Now, we've already talked a little bit about the lineup, and some of you might not have seen what Walaoumpa brought to the table yesterday, but there's a really unique tempo rogue that was showcased, you know, running Shadowcasters, Valspine Slayers, Hallucinations, 2 Princes, and he's made it this far. Now the question is whether or not he's going to be able to keep it up, because the lineup from Impact seems very solid as well. Yeah,
I feel this rogue deck is built to take care of Prix to some degree. It's a tempo deck, but it's kind of a slow, rumbling tempo deck, whereas Impact's going to hit that rogue in the face. But the time for talking is done. We're going to find out exactly what happens on the board. We're going to go over to that game right now.
And Walaoumpa on the rogue. Now this is not the deck you want to be up against Pirate Warrior with, although we've seen him pull off some miracles. I mean, he's got the taunts, Stonehill Defenders in there. He does have the Bone Mares. So we've seen him beat the Pirate Warrior prior to this.
Yeah, I mean, if Impact does lose this board, it will get painful very fast for him. Interesting, he's pulling off the miracles without the Miracle Rogue. Just a series of battle cry effects that he can use over and over again to gain tempo, and a lot of 1-drops to activate the combos on Vile Spines, for instance. And on top of the Prince, if you draw the Prince, it's like an auto win in any deck, the 2-drop Prince, Keleseth, yeah. That Prince just gives you so much extra value that it is almost unassailable when you get him. But not in the opening hand here from Walaoumpa, which is going to make life difficult.
So I always wonder, why not go face with patches here when you open up in the Zos first mate? Because you can weaken the little 1/1 and get an extra bit of damage in, right? Like 1 extra hit. Is that possible, or do you not gain any damage from it? Because the rogue then has to trade with it anyway, with the dagger. Does that not give you 1 extra point of damage on average?
Sounds like you might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's weak to some SI7 play or some backstab. No, we could see
don't want an
backstab
accident occurring that quick. I guess you just protect stuff with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Walaoumpa. A horrible selection of cards there. You really don't want to dirty rat against Pirates. You probably won't even play this card until maybe much later on, when it's just an Arcanite Reaper left and no minions in hand. Then it becomes pretty good.
Now we've got Walaoumpa with the defensive Prince Valinar. We've talked about that a little bit, but he does run 2 Princes, Keleseth and Valinar. When the first one, the 2-drop, is played, the second one becomes a 5/5, which makes it extremely strong as a taunt minion, especially for a class like Rogue that has no self-healing.
Yeah, and again, no spells to deal with anything either in the Rogue, so everything's got to be done with these battle cries. Pretty much, there's hallucination, I think, in there. But basically, you're doing it with the battle cries all the way through. So yeah, anything that's got a decent ability, like gaining some healing and putting up a taunt, absolutely vital, because you can't kill the minions any other way.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, too, because we were talking about this yesterday, but it feels like the hallucinations are trying to shore up the weaknesses of the deck.
Yep.
By just fetching things you don't have normally access to. And here we see the Ornery Direhorn, 6-mana minion with taunt. Definitely going to come in handy against the Pirate Warrior. And he's got so many taunts at this point that I'm starting to wonder if he's not just going to be able to withstand everything that comes his way.
Yeah, Impact has spent this whole game as Pirate Warrior making trades. That is not where you want to be. Just that solitary point of damage to face so far. All the rest has just been annoying minions in the way, things he's had to trade into, but now he does look like he's starting to get some sort of semblance of control. But again, you can't let Walaoumpa keep this big board. Everything just buffs stuff and relies on other battle cards. It's just a nightmare for Impact at the moment.
All right, Cobalt's Kelbane is giving Impact a potential way to kill it. He can use Heroic Strike in the deck. There's also Arcanite Reaper that comes out. Both of them are quite good, but at the end of the day, you're still leaving a 4/1 up, which means the 4/1 gets a trade with the Frothing Berserker. So that's
have to
kind of what you're thinking about.
Pirate out to its untimely demise, just to get in the way of the Berserker.
Not what Walaoumpa had planned, that is for sure. Backstab would be a welcome sight. I'll take a Vile Spine.
Just quickly talk about this Captain, as that Vile Spine is obviously going to be played here. Captain, after you play Keleseth, is a 4/4 that makes a 3/3 patches.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous when you get the Keleseth start.
It's been done in Zoo. Zoo has run Bloodsail Corsair to get patches and Prince Keleseth. I mean, they've played this entire selection of cards, and it seems kind of absurd when you think about it, but...
I think the reasoning with playing Keleseth in Rogue is that your 2-drop is press the button get a really good weapon. So you don't ever really have a bad turn 2. Whereas in Zoo, if you don't get a whole array of 1-drops and you miss the Prince, you really don't have a turn 2. You tend to play a 1-drop on turn 2 and waste a mana.
Exactly, you end up sparing too much mana, which isn't really worth it. Some hero powers are not made equal for the sake of the use of that Keleseth. Now, Impact does find an extra charge on the Reaper. This turn was extremely powerful because, yes, your opponent is getting extra Death Rattle, little plants, but he was looking for Divine Shield. Let's not kid ourselves. He was looking for Divine Shield here and did not find it. And then he gave you the opportunity to do just what you're doing now, which is, well, very dangerous. I'm going back to the last turn and I'm thinking if Walaoumpa had played the Vile Spine instead, maybe this would be a bit less
because there aren't
precarious.
many better targets. Like, a huge Frothing is about as big a target as you get in this deck. Obviously, Walaoumpa's trying to get the situation where his Vile Spine survives so he can copy it and use it again. But that's less likely now because there's so many threats he's got to deal with.
Yeah, does play Dirty Rat and hopes nothing comes out, nods the head, acknowledging that the timing was right after so many minions had already been played.
Yeah, good calculated risk, that one. Very easy from where we're sat, but, you know, Impact hadn't stopped playing stuff. You know, there was definitely no guarantee that he'd run out, so very good card sense there from Walaoumpa.
And then this Reaper finds another charge to close out the game as early as it can. And now all that's standing between Walaoumpa and death is whatever taunt he's able to put up this turn. Backstab allows a trait to occur here. You can even use your face to finish off a 3-4 and put up a taunt, but...
Can you get a Shadowcaster on your Vile Spine and Backstab and all that good stuff at once here?
But you can't taunt, so that's not doable, sadly.
Because you just die to the 5 in the face.
Exactly.
Which seems quite important to stop.
At least you can kill a 3-4 with a Vile Spine in your face, putting yourself at 2. There's no more reach that goes beyond... I mean, I guess technically Spellbreaker lets people go beyond the taunts. But you very rarely encounter Mortal Strike, even in the most aggressive versions.
Just to point out, there is a double Spellbreaker in this build, so definitely 2 outs there for Impact. Walaoumpa has managed to do quite a bit of damage, like as collateral damage as he's gone on with his game. Impact is down to a fairly low health total, so Walaoumpa can try and find a way to stabilize. He may be able to threaten a counter kill with Bone Mare later on.
He is currently gaining at least enough health from Valinar to keep himself alive.
He does have a Shadow Step in the deck.
I mean, he wins, so right now Impact wins on Kor'kron Elite, and he wins on Spellbreaker, he wins on South Sea Captain. So many outs in the deck just gave him the win. And he's going to take it with that buffed up Arcanite Reaper. No big surprise, terrible matchup for the rogue player in general.
I've just realized something we're not going to see unless we see Walaoumpa again, is turn 1 Coin Prince, Shadow Step Prince.
No, we're not going to see that.
And I bet somebody's faced that this weekend and hated every second of it.
I'll have to ask him, but I wouldn't be surprised. When you include 2 Shadow Steps in your build, it's a lot more likely, but 1 can be enough in this mishmash.
How disgusting
sometimes.
is it if you do that? Just +2/+2 to everything in your deck.
I don't know, tell me about that. 3-3 patches. Wait, South Sea Captain summoned it?
Yeah.
That 4-4 patches?
You haven't seen anything yet, boys. And Impact looking pretty calm after that 1-0 start, though. He has been in this position multiple times in multiple events. Maybe not as well known as he could be, considering how well he has done, because he's never landed a really big win.
What Impact plays a lot of, too, is aggressive decks, and a lot of people tend to not remember the hyper-aggressive players. It turns out people have, you know, his streaming presence isn't something that people relate to.
He'll be on the screen for like a quarter of the time.
Exactly.
Say, yeah, some of the slower players. So
barely anyone remembers the games. They go by very quickly. So we'll see maybe if Impact can just take down Walaoumpa. I mean, the Shaman can be a bit difficult if you're using the Warrior, if you're using the Paladin. Shaman kind of preys on those. That might be Walaumpa's ticket to at least 1 win here.
Reminder that Walaumpa's Shaman does include that double Hex, I seem to remember. Just checking that out now.
Yeah, it does have double Hex. It's still at 3 mana, at least.
It's interesting, actually, yeah, looking at that, it's got 1 Bone Mare double Hex. And we were thinking yesterday, as we saw it unfold, we didn't really know what was going on, but actually, it's fairly standard.
Oh, it is a fairly standard deck, but it's got the Bone Mare at the top end, and it's just running the Hexes, which is something you tend to see in that deck, the Stonehill Defender, to get more bodies onto the board. So here the hexes have been privileged by Walaoumpa, and he's gonna go for the priest. Now, you're looking at this, you're thinking, Raza, Shadow Reaper, this is great, until you realize the matchup you're running into.
Yeah, it's the one matchup where you don't keep these two cards. It's just too slow. And even when you get the combo down, you don't really win with it because you're still busy clearing the board. So don't think you keep any of this. I guess Raza's worth a think because of the healing perspective, but only if you've got some other good early game.
Yeah, exactly. If you have Spirit Lash, Shadow Word, well, there we go.
Yeah, now he wants that Raza back.
Can you throw that Velen away and give me Raza back? I'm good now.
That's exactly what we were trying to say. That sort of hand, you would keep the Raza because then you get that free healing every turn, plus the 5/5, and off you go.
Yeah, you're very likely to get to that turn 5. Oh, well, there you go.
Now we get to see it all unfold.
All right, let's see if that's enough for Walaoumpa. So if there were a 2-drop here, it would be Bloodcell Raider very often, and Walaoumpa would not be able to kill it with Spirit Lash, but anything else means he's going to get a decent turn 2. Just going to clean up these pirates, prevent Bloodcell Cultists from granting an extra charge. Oh. Well,
make your play. I think you play it. I don't think that Doomsayer is good later on in the match.
You get punished by specifically South Sea Deckhand and Heroic Strike, which then gives you an amazing Spirit Lash. So the punish is actually something of an upside.
Yeah, the punish just leads into what you want to do.
Oh, and that's happening. I mean, Heroic Strike, I guess the Deckhand doesn't have to come out, right? But you're preserving, you're spending 7 damage on preserving the little 2/1/1s, which effectively are worth more now that you just picked up South Sea Captain, but...
Impact's having a think about this.
It's a rough one.
Do I really have to protect this board? My play after this is good. Mainly because you don't really want to put that Heroic Strike into a 0-7. You want to put it into your opponent.
Yeah, that would be the best place to send it.
Given that you're only protecting a fairly puny board, definitely worth consideration, but he did decide to put it in there. So that's healed for 7, and now it's going to heal for 2 more.
That's a rough one right there. Impact was hoping the South Sea Captain would be able to connect at least with the other 2 pirates to get a little bit more done, but still finds something to do that isn't too miserable for a Pirate Warrior.
Yeah, Impact feeling a bit miserable though when your opponent full mulligans and just rips out all this lot at the start of the game. Yeah, you're entitled to feel a little bit salty about the whole affair.
If you're prone to such things as saltiness, which I'm sure Impact isn't.
And I'm sure you and I and Impact are just nothing like that.
I don't salt up.
I've been known to. It's been known.
What do you think about people who stay at the skill floors to play janky decks?
We'll talk about that off stream. It's a PG show.
Okay. I see how it is. Control Hunters of the world. Reno Hunters of the world.
Stop it. You're
Assemble.
encouraging them. Don't make them do that to us.
Be the gatekeepers we deserve.
Goodness. Oh no.
And keep him out. South Sea Captain's gonna dash Shadow Word Pain. Everything for Walaoumpa is lining up. This is kind of the nightmare scenario for Impact, but he does keep finding things to do.
Yeah, he's still managing to, I mean, his hand is full of minions, which is fine when you're trying to stop the Priest from doing all this stuff, but he needs to pick up Arcanite Reaper really soon.
He's tempted to play Hydra, but the trade-off that he immediately realizes exists is if I play Hydra and there's death, my pressure dips down to 0.
On the other side of it, if I don't play Hydra, how do I ever win?
Exactly.
That's what he's decided to go with. And despite the fact we can see both hands and he's going to lose because of this play,
but
I like this play.
I don't think he's losing because of it, but he's at least slowed down.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not lost yet.
I like the idea here of putting the Hydra onto the table as a beating stick.
Right.
And if there's no death, you have a very strong chance.
Is the whole Fel Reaver idea, Fel Reaper, man, I've watched way too many Pirate Warriors play those weapons. Is the Fel Reaver conundrum of, well, I could play it and it dies, but if I play it in 6, I automatically win. And since there's only a whole load of 1-ofs in the Priest deck, you can't assume that's going to happen. Speaking of 1-ofs, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you your Pirate Overlord, Galactic Crawler.
Yeah, this game has not quite gone the way Impact would have envisaged when his opponent mulliganed his whole hand away. And Walaoumpa is massively in control of this game. Still on 24. Impact not having much impact at all on this one.
You just can't get through an Impact match without making that one.
I mean, it's got to be said, I would be fired if I didn't, like, notice something so trivially obvious as that.
Fine. The interesting thing, too, is that a lot of the answers that Walaoumpa got seem to just come naturally. It's like Shadow Word Death for Hydra. Yeah, I drew that last turn. You know, every card that he wanted came off.
Even the Doomsayer was just a wealth of riches. He didn't even have to play it.
Exactly.
He just chose to, and that's still in good stead, obviously.
So he found the right cards in his deck to answer this, which is sort of what Prix needs to do. It's extremely weak when it doesn't. We've seen that earlier. Somebody had a very slow starting hand. Pirate Warrior against Prix is by no means an easy matchup for the Prix player. It's one where if the cards don't line up, it's extremely easy for you to trip over your own draw.
Yes.
And then lose the game on the back of it. The thank you here is Walaoumpa attempting to play mind games again.
Yeah, again. I don't think he needs to in this particular game, but last night he definitely did, and it got him a win. Impact's playing mind games of his own. They're called the bottom right games.
They're good. Better than the Hunger ones.
They definitely are. Well, so, one game apiece in this pretty rapid-paced game, actually.
Yeah, Pirate Warrior, whenever they're involved, of course, everything goes a little bit quicker, but Impact is also notorious for playing quickly, regardless of the deck that he plays.
Yeah, and he does sometimes make mistakes because of it. He's a very powerful player when he talks about the game. When you listen to him talk, he understands a lot about Hearthstone. Sometimes just does make that little mistake due to his speed. Some players play better when they're playing quickly. I don't think Impact is one of those players. He just doesn't enjoy playing slowly. It's just not natural to him.
We've had, you know, I talked to Impact a long time ago. He was very tilt-prone.
Yes.
A time ago, and I believe that's largely changed. I mean, he's less frustrated by things like top decks. They don't bother him as much. The whole taunting aspect of the game is very... It's something he's grown accustomed to now.
I think he's accepted that he comes to a LAN to enjoy the LAN, and on top of that, there's a Hearthstone tournament.
Exactly, which is sort of what DreamHack's about at the end of the day. So he made it to top 16. That's a big plus, but it wasn't by no means the guaranteed outcome.
One thing I like about this Paladin deck against Priest is that you can not have to worry too much about just plopping all your Murlocs onto the board, because the Priest can't empty its hand to get around your Divine Favor. So you get to do it all once and then Divine Favor and do it all again. And the Priest runs out of AoE quicker than you think when you do present them with multiple boards.
That is one of their bigger weaknesses. Snap pick on Getaway Kodo had Redemption, I believe, offered, as well as Eye for an Eye. I'm not sure.
Doomsayer on 2.
All right, let's play Getaway Kodo and get ourselves that little tutu back, because we can.
Infinite value Kodo.
Essentially what happened here is the Doomsayer was traded for a Hydrologist that is then coming back. And so what really was lost there is the potential better card than Hydrologist from Kodo that could have been acquired. But
it's also one turn closer to turn 6 where you don't get to stick. I'm actually just looking, there's very few buffs in this deck, so turn 6 is nowhere near the normal problem here.
Yeah, Spike Seed is not in the deck. When you're running Cold Light Seers and you're running Divine Favors and Grimscale Chums, you can wave goodbye to that turn 6 Spike Seed. So that's not even going to be on Walaumpa's mind, which is oftentimes something they have to worry about. Keep everything extremely clean because they know that the potential for the Steed is right there. And
something we talked about yesterday, there is no Tyrion in this deck and only one Bone Mare, so the top end is just, there isn't one.
Well, the thing is, if you're stuck with Tyrion in your opening hand with that type of deck, yeah, that's the end of your run right there.
Yeah, the end of your Divine Favor is just a card you never get to use like twice, basically, when you Divine Favor.
Like Arcane Intellect, draw one less card.
Yeah, seems bad.
Great.
Wow.
Okay, we've taken a 10 cost card. We're going up there. We're lasting long.
That's interesting to me. I'd have assessed this that maybe a 5 would be more likely to come into play.
I know why. I didn't spot that, but he discovered the mage singleton. What's her? Inkmaster Solia?
Oh,
that's a free potion!
Sure, then you go for the 10 as well, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, sorry, wow.
The discover options weren't popping up. They went by extremely quickly. That's
just nuts to just get another card that says, if you play one of everything in your deck and have this in your hand, this card is bust. Fulfilled conditions already, so just get on with it, take the Solia.
I mean, still worse than Ultimate Infestation, but really good.
How could a card be worse than Ultimate Infestation? It costs 10 mana. How many times have you seen it in this tournament? It can't be any good.
No, you're right.
Haven't seen one.
Well, the upside too is that Inkmaster Solar comes out on turn 7, so it actually mimics Ultimate Infestation perfectly.
Absolutely right. Inkmaster Solar is going to be quite entertaining. Not if you're Impact, though. Impact will probably fancy his chances in this matchup. I imagine this is where he's got to this point by bringing this deck against the Prix. I suspect this has been a big part of his run to the top 16. But it could go badly wrong here with a Dragonfire Potion followed by... I mean, look at the AoE. I said there's no AoE. He's got a 10 cost potion he can play for 7, double AoE in hand, and still on 28 to be in control. I'm
afraid this is simply not going to work out for Impact once he... I mean, he can get butchered by the Dragonfire Potion. That's butchery number 1. And then if that is not enough to put him down and he picks up Divine Favor, refills his hand, then there's the potion for 0 mana that comes back with Ink Master. Effectively 7, but it builds a body. And then you've got the Holy Nova. This is just crushing if you're Impact.
Playing around it to some degree, trading while he can, but it doesn't really matter.
You have Holy
He's playing
Nova?
around, Nova and Blood Mage.
Potion comes out, and the Getaway Coda will give him back the Tiny Hydrologist once again. So that's been sequenced to get it back. Tidehunter, not a card you see a lot of, but amazing when you're playing those floody Murloc decks.
And we've seen 3 or 4 of these in this tournament. We were saying yesterday we hadn't seen many, but as the day went on today in the later stages, this deck seems to be a deck that is emerging as a Priest challenger. Although not in this particular game of Hearthstone, it's not challenging much at all.
Yeah, and Walaoumpa, he's just got the Holy Nova, the Shadow Word Horror, the Potion of Madness. Pick your poison, Impact. You're getting one. You don't get to dodge that one.
Wow, actually having to play an AoE spell. Don't worry about it, though. You've got 4 more. 3 more.
Yeah, but the Hydrologist just keep coming. Is the Hydrologist
he just won't go away.
He will not die. It just will not die.
It's getting bigger.
It's like, it's a Jade.
Jade Hydrologist.
Oh, please no.
Imagine if Jade's got your secrets, that'd be so good.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was a popular idea.
I'd love a 1-mana secret that has no limit on the board.
So each time you play it, it just gets better?
I mean, maybe it makes a bigger man. Impact with a double secret, gets Repentance and Redemption. It's looking good on this side. He's thinking, all right, I've seen Dragonfire, I've seen Shadow Word Horror. That can't get worse. It just can't.
Yeah.
It can't get worse.
He knows, I mean, he knows that he hasn't pushed Walaoumpa here. He's probably expecting more disasters, to be honest. And more disasters are on the way.
So that's the thing is, without Raza right now, Shadow Reaper Anduin is inconsequential if it is played right away. So that's not really a worry of his. It's mostly, does he really have the other AoEs? Does he have Cabal Shadow Priest, right? Does he have those cards that can really swing the game? And now he sees the Cabal Courier, Inkmaster Solia.
It's not really funny, but it's funny.
The Holy Nova is going to be coming out. I mean, you technically don't need to use the potion yet, because you've got the coin potion if you want it.
Yeah, this makes your Acolyte just happy, though. Just get the Acolyte to draw some more cards, because you might run out of AoE in a minute when your opponent's got no cards in hand.
Yeah.
Actually, is it right to even have this Acolyte drawing more cards? The only way you lose is Divine Favor. Maybe you shouldn't have the Acolyte on the board right now.
I think Walaoumpa just threw the coin.
Just to get rid of it, yeah. Nice work.
Prevent Divine Favors, yes.
Really nice work.
It is not BM.
No.
Let it be told. It is not. And more cards. Did you want anti-aggro? I've got everything. This is unbelievable.
I don't need this coin.
Singleton Priest. Who said anything about one copy of everything?
Well, the tilt will be put to the test here for Impact, because he's had 2 games in a row where the sort of games, if you're tilt prone, could tilt you when your opponent just gets everything they need.
And the thing at this point as well is that Yeah, Walaoumpa has been conserving his resources. Like, we've seen the potion I screamed, Ink Master, Solia, you know, zero mana potions. Like, it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
It just was not something that he needed to do at any point. He's got the ability to make all these minions little sheep and deal 8 damage to a single target of his choice. So whenever something gets out of hand, too many Murlocs show up and we're worried, we just make that ineffective.
Not the best, though, right now. I mean, it's not bad.
I mean, it gives you a good Spirit Lash. Worst case scenario would be in a world where the opponent plays Stewart Darkshire and follows through with a Sunkeeper Terrain discovered from it. Barring that, you're probably looking pretty happy, and that's a card Finja can't afford to feed it any more than it is.
The Horror's gone. The Dragonfire's gone. So Finja does need to be avoided here.
But that's a Spirit Lash.
Yeah, that's a Spirit Lash for 8, 9, I don't know. I can't count that high.
With the double damage, we're back to full health, buddy.
Do it all again.
All right,
no
Impact.
Cards.
How well do you do? Can you do that again? That hurts.
It really does hurt inside.
Yeah, I heard in the audience somebody screaming, Priest! I feel like this is just about the right term.
Yeah, that's good. Get that mana casting job. It's good timing, I think.
Yeah, if he's just capable of screaming Priest, we're good. We nailed it. Blind-Size Potion comes out just a cycle after Lyra. The pack could be played because why not? Mind Vision, sadly, and I discovered that a long time ago, does not give you some weird token
like
card.
worthless token.
Right, like a coin, you know?
Yeah.
It gives nothing. +3 attack, and that is not it. This is probably the single least useful he could have gotten. No poisonous, no +3 attack, no divine shield, just...
Yeah, I don't feel that Mind Visions deserves to have a downside.
That's what I say.
Like, give him a wisp or something, please.
He's testing, but he wants to cycle it with Lyra, obviously. So
it lets you cast it, though. Like, you can't cast Unleash with no opposing minions.
Right.
Which is weird, because you should be able to cast
You should be able to cast the spell, regardless.
But...
I just laughed.
That's over anyway, and Impact is 2-1 behind. But he still has Priest.
Lorinda, I usually don't find Priest so amusing, but the last 2 sets were absolutely crushing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen Priest defend against aggro in such a dominant way before. Usually they have to scramble for answers, but everything was there for Walaoumpa. Just the cards were available.
And this Paladin
turn.
deck is there to beat the Priest. It's not going to have a great win rate, because otherwise everyone would be doing it, but it's got to be favoured against Priest, or at least close to it, because otherwise Impact wouldn't be here and he wouldn't have queued it before the Priest.
Yeah.
So he must fancy his chance. And it just didn't get close because of all that AoE.
The cards were just exactly what he was, Walaoumpa was looking for. Now, there will be a mirror match of Priest, and this is where things get a little bit more nuanced, because Impact's list is not quite the same as Walaoumpa. There is a Berkeley Bully as well as the Mukla, Tyrant of the Veil, able to generate cards on his own.
Bananas.
Yeah, that's pretty...
2 bananas.
As long as you coin first.
As long as you coin first to empty your hand.
And Walaoumpa here will play the Crab to counter the Loot Hoarder. That gives it a trading target, which isn't usually where you find yourself. Oftentimes nobody plays it, like no one plays the Crab, and then you just can't trade it away, so you don't draw. Well, Walaoumpa is going to try to seize board.
Impact getting rid of these cards nice and quickly so that the Cabal can't deal with them. Just get your card draw at the start, out of range before your opponent starts doing bad things to you. Impact just taking 1 card.
Really wants to avoid getting punished by something like a Shadow Word Pain if he just leaves it there and tries to play passively. Gonna play Doomsayer and try to see whether or not the opponent has an answer to it.
Interesting he chose to play it on this turn when he doesn't have a great follow-up. I mean, he has follow-up cards. He can get a 3-3 onto the board, a Glimmer Root or something, but I've been interested to see if he wants to wait 1 more turn and try and clear the way for Mukla, which is a much more dominating minion to have on the board.
There was a very good consideration for the Tar Creeper and Doomsayer to protect it after that. It looks like Silence might be coming out, or we're just letting it go off and drawing as we can.
Neither player getting either of the 2 important cards.
Lyra and Kazakis can change the tide of the game here, depending on how things really show up.
Prophet Velen ×2.
That's a really big mind blast.
It really is.
Okay, so Kazakus comes out. Lyra has the coin available. There's the silence, the shadow visions. Things are starting to shape up here for Walaoumpa at some point. He might be able to put together a good Lyra to buy time until he gets to Raza and Anduin. On impact side, he's got bigger minions on average, just based on the extra Velen he just got.
He will have more spells, so if they're finishing the quest at rough, or the quest to get Anduin and Raza, that's the quest. If you finish that about the same sort of time as your opponent, Impact will be able to do more stuff with those cards, most likely.
Right. Or even if he gets Lyra, the same could be true there as well. All right, so he is going to offer his opponent a trade into Holy Nova.
Yeah, but he is going to be able to follow up with even a Velen, potentially.
Oh, no. He's trying to bait the Shadow Word Death.
Yes, he is.
Clearly.
And also, it just fit nicely onto the curve to actually just get something on the board. We talked about this yesterday. Most of this is just posturing. Occasionally, you might just break them by accident. But realistically, the priest has loads of removal, and the other priest doesn't have enough stuff.
I mean, that could be more than posturing. It would have been good to have that before we saw what the potion was, because we could have just gone full Ink Master again.
Yeah, I was just thinking Ink Master and, oh my goodness, Chogol the next game. Okay, well, Impact's going to proceed to try and keep this board. There's nothing else he can really do. He does have a bit of a more minion-based deck. Might as well see what he can get out of it. The longer he's messing around like this, the more chance Walaoumpa doesn't get to drop the Acolyte, maybe get some card draw, because he's got to deal with this threat. It's not hard to deal with, but it's a distraction.
Yeah, and that's an amazing potion here. 5 health will be taken out, but that's nothing, because he gets the tempo back, kills a minion, and draws cards in his deck. That is absolutely insane of a swing turn.
He's got to check his hand size, make sure he don't overdraw. That's about all he's got to worry about, though.
That's a 7/7. That's not easy to deal with when you've got one Shadow Word Death in your deck. No Anduin to play here. Walaoumpa now can make the assessment, and he's noting it down that there is likely no Shadow Reaper Anduin, for that would have been played now.
Yeah, really good time for it.
So, the odds are rather low that it keeps coming up. On the other side, Walaoumpa is still looking for his Raza. Did not attack with his Chogol.
Whoops. And we saw
Air is human.
We did see him make a few imprecise plays yesterday as well. And as again, he's a very, very high level pro in other card games. But your mechanics, your thought processes are still much better when you're that sort of level. But your mechanics, if Hearthstone's not your main, will do that sort of thing to you occasionally.
Yeah, you just have to slip up on very small things. I'm gonna say something too that I've noticed since the beginning of the series. Impact plays fast, Walaoumpa just follows.
Right, and that's a mistake that players make.
Impact plays quick, he plays quick. There's not really been too much pausing on one side.
Yeah, when we saw Walaoumpa yesterday, when he was in that match, which looked like he could come from behind and did, he was thinking very hard about how to stay in that match because his opponent was thinking very hard.
Every single turn, he went to near the rope.
Yeah.
Today, not so much. Impact's quick, Walaumpa's quick. He might have to slow down here. Hopefully, this is something.
And he should be experienced enough in other games to know to do this.
Yeah.
You know, we have seen inexperienced players. They play against someone like a Zixo or a Breath, some of these super fast players, and they just fall into the pace. But yeah, he slowed himself down after that mistake. That was a warning to him of what he's doing.
Yeah, no doubt he's spotted it, and now he's going to look. I mean, once he gets Raza, that Lyra is gonna go off.
And even though it's 7 missed damage, it's still. I know it sounds crazy to say it's only 7 missed damage.
Yes.
It's probably not important most of the time.
If 7 damage represents less than 25% of your opponent priest's health, it probably does not win the game. But yesterday we actually saw a case of. Twisted at the very end there, and this is very weird, but 2 damage was missed sometime in the very early game. Both players kept missing pings, and at the end there, had he just executed what he had in hand, he would have been able to kill if he hadn't missed the 2 damage earlier. And so those little points of damage matter, and 7
it's a lot of damage. It is a lot of damage to miss, but the priest gets healed up in the meantime and all that sort of stuff with priest to feast. It wouldn't have mattered in this game as it happens. What it has done is it's woken him up. He's realised, I've got to be careful. I'm not playing the game on autopilot that I'm used to playing.
And the Drake here from Impact, a card you tend to see going hand in hand with Mukla, Tyrant of the Veil, and Burgundy Bully. People that run the two first tend to run the Drake afterwards.
Because it obviously makes a lot of sense. It's very difficult. It's especially this meta where everyone is playing Priest to a man. A Drake is about the best minion you can play in that spot.
Yeah, plus the silence just came out to hit the Priest of the Feast, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's another consideration. It's interesting that it was used there.
Shadowy thoughts.
Well, we can start killing minions with that hero power when it's not 0. It's always a little bit on the slow side.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously makes a huge difference. 2 is much more than 0. It's infinitely more than 0, but it feels even more than that sometimes. It just feels incredibly clunky when you're trying to do anything at all with it until you get that Raza.
That's given his opponent a little bit of card draw by pinging it, but he was looking to trade into it if the Doomsayer were to be killed. Impact not going to go ahead and try to defend the board. He could have gone for the Banana Spirit Lash, which clears up the Doomsayer and finishes off the Cabal Shadow Priest, but chose not to keep fighting for the board.
Those bananas represent 8 damage later on, and he has actually chipped away now at Walaumpa's health total. 16 is low enough that he will have to take care of that if he gets the chance.
And Walaoumpa is going to respect that and try to get some health back with Priest of the Feast. It tends to happen every time in the matchup. Greater Healing Potion, Priest of the Feast, for both players end up recovering a good chunk of, well, there we go, of health, I was going to say. And so eventually they dip low and then go back all the way up and then dip low again to only die at the end.
So all that chip damage, all it's done is maybe gain him a little bit of health at the end because he's forced Walaoumpa to take a bit of action. Get a couple of cards out of his hand.
Impact was looking for an answer. He found it. Shadow Word Pain from Shadow Vision is going to be able to deal with a Priest of the Feast. Nonetheless, he still doesn't have Shadow Reaper Endwin. And when he does get it, though, I mean, with Raza already enabled, the bananas, the Velen, that is going to be a tremendous swing. I mean, he's got the bananas and Velen, but also Radiant Elemental. We cannot understate the power of that.
So much damage if he gets everything assembled.
And he simply will say, well, I can kill you if I just get Anduin.
That is just a giant chunk of damage. All he needs now is the Anduin.
Okay, so, I mean, he's just acknowledged, I could kill your 3/6, but I could also kill you.
So watch out.
All right, here we go. Radiant Elemental is going to fire off for Walaoumpa. Raza still not into play, but he can get a lot of spells from this. A lot of them can be impactful. We're talking stuff like Mind Blast. Inner Fire, in many respects, can also find value.
Choosing to use the Holy Smite. Wasn't a given that he would use that card, even though it costs 0. Impact will have a couple more turns. This board's going to be hard for Impact to deal with. At the moment, he doesn't really have a good solution to all this.
And by surrendering, the Shadow Word Pain actually left a little bit more trouble on the board than was available prior. So that's going to be Holy Nova. Final play for Walaoumpa, going to go up to full health and beyond.
I don't think I like the Holy Smite, by the way, that he played. I feel that you're trying to find more Holy Smites, not get rid of the ones in your hand. That's just my gut on that one.
Yeah, but again, we've seen Priest win by getting the board. It's just you can't expect your opponent not to have some form of AoE at this point. So while he is not guaranteed to get punished, it's very often...
Oh, if he plays this, it could be interesting because he may end up summoning an Acolyte, which would make him overdraw. The game is likely to go to Fatigue. Gets that Blood Mage, and I think he may now have to dump a card to make sure he doesn't overdraw.
Yeah, and he's going to do just that. He got that Holy Smite from Shadow Visions, and it'll just take a kill on the Radiant Elemental. And now you see that Walaoumpa, just without Raza, Shadow Reaper Endwin's good, but it's nothing. It's nothing like the Raza combo.
Yeah, I mean, you'd just be clearing this board up if you had Raza down, but as it is, you may clear the board, but you have to actually use cards to do it rather than just point everything face.
All right, so it seems like there will be a ping, Holy Nova ping. So you ping the Priest of the Feast first, and then you get to ping the face again afterwards. That gives you a decent board clear. I was going to say, the Potions of Madness seem to me like they're going to be stranded in the hand, but he finally got something to do with them. It was by no means certain.
And he needs something to do with them. Both players just looking for one piece each of that combo. Needs stating that if you get there, you're going to probably win this game. Both players have such cheap hands.
Well, Impact, I believe, is going to be potentially forced to play one Velen. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing one of them out. Because the Shadow Word Death's already come out, Shadow Reaper Anduin's already come out. So if you can force 2 pings away, there's some consideration at least for that.
And digging further through the deck. Both players' hands are so cheap, it's just going to come down to who can get that cycle going. Hearing from the floor, Twisted did lose 3-0 to Hot Meowth in his top 16 match. So no rematch available here for Walaoumpa from Twisted from last night. Twisted did make it to that top 16, but has stopped his train there.
And so it ends. Lyra shows up. Do we want spells? I can't complain. I mean, I could kill you with them later.
But which ones do you want to get rid of? You've got spells that you want already to some degree. And yeah, Spirit Lash, let's try and find something a bit cheaper. That'll do. We'll have one of those, naught cost. Very tempting here just to not get any more spells, but...
I mean, do you play... Because he's kept the Holy Smite earlier, right? So it's down to that. Oh, that Shadow Visions is going to be fantastic.
Right, that ended up beautifully. He actually got some value out of the cards and lowered the cost of his hand. Perfect.
The insane part is that Spirit Lash was replaced, in effect, by a free Holy Smite and Shadow Visions, which can get some of the better cards in the deck as well. So this is effectively one of the best, I think, Lyras I've seen that played so few spells. I don't think I've ever seen a Lyra get so many effective cards out of so few spells played. And
it was interesting the difference between how Impact approached the Lyra and how Walaoumpa approached it. Walaoumpa was just trying to go through everything and just get value from the Lyra and see what happened. Impact's trying to set up that one-turn kill for later on the assumption that eventually he does draw the combo. It's getting a bit late for him now, though.
Potion of Madness not quite enough. He's going to have to find maybe... I mean, there's a Shadow Word Pain, a Dragon Fire Potion in there. Still not been played. Picks up the Dragon Fire to save himself. All right.
And he's frantic. I think this is Impact view. He's frantically checking the hands or the deck sizes over and over again, knowing that if he picks it up, it's a 2-turn lethal.
Not only that, but he wants to play quick.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to keep the Dragon Fire to deal with Raza when it comes out.
Doesn't need to play quick. This is the last match today for these players. There's obviously more top 16 matches still to come here at DreamHack, but yeah, you can put your time into this one because you haven't got to save your energy for later today. You do sometimes see in round 7 or 8 of the Swiss, players play a bit quickly because they're starting to flag and they want to make sure they get through, but...
And the back was picked up by Walaoumpa, so no Raza needed for this man. And I think it was really instrumental that he got the powered shield there. It sounds a little bit silly, but that's forcing Impact not to only rely on the Dragon Fire Potion. It isn't enough. So he's going to have to use that Shadow Word Death.
And he can't play the Burgly Bully because he's down to 6 or 5 cards in his deck, and Walaoumpa then would have legitimate reasons to try and burn him out. Like burn out the cards.
Yeah, the cards, exactly. Mill the Shadow Reaper.
Cards.
Yeah, there is, by the way, an Impact list, I believe, no Mind Blast.
Right.
So while he has the Velen, and he also opted to take an extra one.
Because why not?
There is still no Mind Blast.
But he can play 6 cards in a turn at least. 7 now. If he has a target, he would actually be able to play all of the cards in one turn and just do OTK.
Yeah.
If he gets there. But, you know, we're talking about his side of it. Walaoumpa's been waiting forever for his Raza as well. And his hand is also a cheap one, although he does not have the Velen. And so Impact will have a little bit of time to respond, most likely, although his health total is getting a little bit awkward.
It's getting awkward, and he doesn't play Greater Healing Potion. I mean, that's also one of the things that some of these lists end up doing when they start going in many directions with Drake and Mukhla and Burgly Bully. When Tark Reaper is added, people end up sometimes having to find room for the Greater Healing Potion and cutting it out at the end.
That Engineer is going to hit the table faster. The Impact's body language has just got more and more
you've got to be kidding!
Game.
Did he forget to put it in?
It's been known in tournaments before for somebody to go through their deck and go, oh,
well, now
I forgot my card.
This is just textbook. I hate my life.
Dragonfire my own Novice Engineer, or shall I Shadow Word Paint it? What am I going to do?
And here we go, still no Raza.
That board of nothings.
Uh-oh.
There it is.
Uh-oh. The trigger has been pulled. It's the beginning of the end there. No Velen, though. That's at least one positive thing. No Radiant Elemental, so there's limited damage output. And Enduin is guaranteed to clean up the Raza next turn as it comes in. So if he can just survive, if he can only survive,
yeah,
that's going to be sufficient.
Can he survive? Blown up his own North Shy. Was that deliberate? No, I don't think it was. That's twice he's done it.
That's the Shadow Reaper.
Bottom card of the deck. He's been waiting for this for so long. I think he has lethal next turn. I haven't added it up again since recent times.
I'll have to check. Give me a moment. Let's do it. Let's do the magic.
Let's do the magic, Nox.
All right, so 6, 10, 18, plus another 8. It's 26. Shadow Word Pain on top of that should do it.
Yeah, he can paint his own Radiant.
Yeah, he can paint his own Radiant, and I believe that's gonna do it. He's gonna have exactly 30. Oh!
Oh no!
You have got to be kidding me!
Oh, he's getting a good iron hiding from his opponent here.
And Flappy Bird just to rub it in.
Now Impact's got to actually recount. I think we counted exact 30s, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spells is 28. Plus the 2 you start with is only 30. I make it. And this is bananas, Nox. But I'm not sure the bananas are going to get it done.
It just hurts.
A double greater healing potion.
Yeah, because why not? You want to go through all that again?
Impact probably still thinks he's got a decent chance because of this board, but...
I mean, he's got 0 health. So.
He has got 0 health.
Did we miscount?
Did we miscount? It's possible. It's been known.
It seems we have not miscounted this time.
Total Darkness will be Impact's revenge.
And Ironhide
is off, and he is off to create some Total Darkness. And Walaoumpa has found his way into the top 8 on the back of several Priest mirror matches on stream.
Not prone to tilt, but you know, sometimes it just catches up to you. He had this, barring
bottom card Anduin. He needed 1 more turn, probably, maybe 2.
Barring maybe Ironhide, I believe.
Maybe Ironhide.
Yeah, this is probably the big, because nothing but armor gain was getting him above 30.
No, and 30 was in hand, and that is ridiculous.
Walaumpa's trademark now needs to be winning Priest mirrors that, up until the moment that he wins, you never thought that he would be able to win. That is 2 very unfavored Priest mirrors over the course of this tournament that he has won, but he is going to the top 8. It was absolutely edge of my seat kind of stuff. Impact literally just needed 1 more turn, or that Ironhide to not have been there, and he would have gotten to take the 2nd game in that series and maybe even go on to win with his Priest in the 3rd. That was a close one, guys.
That Raza the Chained came at the right time.
Yeah.
It was exactly when he needed it, and closed out the game beautifully.
Yeah, that's just absolutely insane. There was that double greater healing potion if the game had been slightly different state, but the Ironhide was the only way to get even to that position in the first place. Insane stuff there, and Impact another top 16 and another not top 8.
Well, I guess it is just Walaumpa's day. You can't argue with those results. He's going to the top 8. Impact, unfortunately, his run does end here. But don't worry, guys, because we have one of the best top 16, if not the best top 16 match coming up for you next. It's 2 huge names, Muzzy versus Cydonia. And now that Zalay is out of the running, the Rat beat him in the first match that we streamed of the top 16. If Muzzy wins this, Muzzy will extend his HCT point lead, meaning that he'll have an even better chance of making the last call berth directly to the World Championships. And Cydonia as well, this is Cydonia's home turf. So I cannot wait to see where this one is going to end up. So much on the line for both of these guys.
Cydonia I have to root for, close friend mostly. You know, I've talked to him quite often, given that he's a local Hearthstone player. You don't have too many of them that, you know, reach high levels of play necessarily, but he's been one of the nicest guys I've seen.
It really is. All right, well, we are going to take a short break just to get the guys set up, but we're going to go with Muzzy versus Cydonia right after this.